Could I say, Bob, my friends, I hope this finds you well. It's party time! Easter! Yes, get in! So, you know that song, It's Raining Men? I got one, right? He's risen again. Hallelujah, he's risen, yeah. Oh, the fat bloke dancing and singing. Who'd have thought it, eh? And so, Easter morning, we gather here and we've got that question. There's a question that hung in that garden. Why are you weeping? It's a question that meets us in our own lives, isn't it? A question that we often might ask ourselves. We might even ask someone else. We might be asked that question. It's a question that crops up in our griefs, our uncertainties, and those long nights. And you know the ones I'm talking about, right? Those long nights where you lie there and the hours just trickle by and the thoughts are just cyclical, going and going and going. We've all had those nights. Today, Easter is not simply the remembrance of an event long ago. Easter is not simply that question that I talked about, why are you weeping? It's not just an answer to that. Easter, today, we celebrate a declaration that death doesn't have the final say, that darkness doesn't win, that love is stronger than the grave. There's a hoodie one of my mates has got. And Jez, if you're watching this, I love you, bro. It's a hoodie and it's got spoiler alert, love wins. And I'm like, wow, yes, absolutely. Because you see, before the celebration, before today, there's confusion. Before there's joy, there was tears. You see, Mary Magdalene comes to the tomb early. It's still dark by all accounts, as far as we know. That detail matters, not just because of the time of day, but because of where she was. The time of the day reflects Mary's heart. It reflects maybe where the world was at that point. You got to think the disciples, Peter, James, John, Andrew, Philip, the boys, they're all huddled together in the upper room at this point, panicking. I think Peter might have exiled himself at this point. So anyway, they're all huddled together in that upper room. They're all terrified. One goes. Mary Magdalene goes. On her own, it's still dark out there. It's still dark in here. It's still dark. The world is dark at that point. Everything she had hoped in, everything she'd believed about Jesus seemed dead and gone. She stood outside the tomb and she weeps. And I love this part of the story because the story here becomes deeply personal, deeply human, and so profoundly helpful. You see, Mary Magdalene in this moment, she's not a distant symbolic figure. She's a woman who loved Jesus, like many of us. She's a woman who follows Jesus, like many of us. Mary Magdalene is one of the women who stays when everybody else flees. I've got to be fair, boys, we do not have a good showing at the foot of that cross. We have John, that's it. Girls, I mean, you got Mary Magdalene, Mary the wife of Cleopas. You've got quite a few. Boys, we do not have a good showing at the foot of that cross, let me tell you. So Mary comes to that tomb and she doesn't expect a miracle. She simply wants to mourn. She's looking for somewhere to try and put down that grief that she carries. Not expectation, she carries grief. But in this moment, she becomes the first witness to the resurrection. How amazing is that? It's not a high priest. It's not a bishop somewhere. It's not a massive super duper, look at me, I'm awesome legend of the Bible. It's Mary Magdalene, who, if you believe what some people say, was a woman of ill repute. I'm not going to say I believe that because I don't. But, you know, it's not a king. It's not a priest. It's not even one of the boys. It's Mary. Mary is the one who sees him first. And this is how God works. Because the first announcement of the resurrection, it's not entrusted to power. It's entrusted to love. It's not entrusted to status. It's entrusted to faithfulness. It's not entrusted to certainty, but to a searching, grieving heart that refused to walk away. And that is why he came to Mary first, because she would not back off. She sees someone standing there. She's found the empty tomb. She's horrified. She's thinking, oh my gosh, the Romans have took him. They weren't above such things, let's be fair. She's thinking, oh my gosh, the Romans have took him. What on earth have they done with him? You know, what now? Now, what more could they possibly do to us? What more could they possibly take from us? And she sees it empty. So she turns and she sees the gardener, who she thinks is the gardener. When hope stands right in front of her, she can't see it. And yet we're honest. If we're honest, come on. We've both been there, right? We've both done that. We've both had hope right in front of us and not recognised it in the slightest. There are moments in our lives when God is present, when God is moving, when God is working, and we simply do not recognise him. We're too weighed down. We're too tired. We're too hurt. Put everything to whatever you need to there, that's where we are, right? Everything changes. Everything changes with a single word. Mary. That's it. Jesus calls her by name. He doesn't call her with a sermon. He doesn't call her with a parable. He doesn't call her with a grand announcement. There's no ticker tape. There's no horns. There's no trumpets. There's no overwhelming spectacle. There is just a man who says one word. Mary. And I love that, because in that moment recognition breaks through. Light pierces darkness, hope awakens, and it's not a gradual, slight stretching of hope and an awakening. Oh, heck no. She responds with, "Teacher!" She sees him. There's this explosion of joy in her. And that's the heart of Easter. That's why we're here today, you and me. Right? Because the resurrection, it's not just about an empty tomb. It's about the living Christ who knows your name and who knows mine. It's about Jesus who calls us personally, who calls you and who calls me. No, doesn't meet us in abstraction. We don't get given a time and a date and told, be ready by this point. Jesus meets us in the reality of our lives. He met Mary while she was grieving, desolate, broken, busted up. She did not know where she was. She thought the story was over. She thought she'd come to tend to death. We've all been there, right? You, me. We've had moments where we're like Mary. We're down and out. We're battered, bruised, beaten. Jesus didn't say, get yourself together and we'll talk. No. Jesus just calls us by name. When Mary arrived at that tomb, she encountered life. She encountered life renewed. Life victorious. Life that could not be contained by the grave. And therein is the good news for us today. Because that same voice that called Mary's name calls mine and calls you. That place where we feel lost, Jesus calls our name. The places where grief has settled in, Jesus calls our name. The places where hope feels buried, Jesus calls our name. Easter tells us that God is not distant from our pain. God enters into our pain, transforms it, and brings life out of it. And notice this. Jesus doesn't tell Mary off for her tears. He doesn't dismiss her grief. He walks to her in it. The resurrection does not erase Good Friday. It embraces it. It redeems it. It makes it mean something. And so, guys, however we come to this today, whether we're carrying sorrow, doubt, weariness, we're not out of place. Each of us is in the exact same boat. Each of us is exactly where the resurrection story begins. Mary's tears in that doorway are her encounter, or are the doorway to her encounter with the risen Christ. After he calls her by name, after he says Mary and she spots him, he gives her a mission. And arguably she's the first evangelist, which I love that idea. Go and tell. What a simple, wonderful message. What a simple, wonderful mission. Go and tell. She becomes the first messenger of Easter. She throws open, and I got this vision of this. I mean, she would have been an Arabian woman. She wouldn't have been particularly big. This tiny little woman just bursting through this door. All these terrified followers of Jesus going, ah, panicking. And Mary just saying, I have seen the Lord. Wow. The one who came in grief leaves in purpose. What the resurrection does is turns mourners into messengers. What the resurrection does is turn endings into beginnings. What the resurrection does is turn silence into proclamation. What the resurrection does is flip the script, which we see Jesus do so many times. The resurrection reminds us that hope is not naive. It's grounded in the reality that God has already overcome the worst that the world could throw at him. The stone was rolled away. Not so Jesus could get out. He could have got out anyway. We know that. The stone is rolled away so we can see in. The stone was rolled away so we could witness that the grave is empty, that death has been defeated, that new life has begun. Because Easter is God's declaration that nothing is beyond redemption. Not our past, not our failures, not our fears, not even death itself. And so today, guys, as we gather together, we stand with Mary in that garden. We stand in the place where grief and hope meet. We listen for that voice that calls our name. And we're invited to respond, not just with belief, but with trust. Not just with words, but with lives transformed by hope. Because the resurrection, it's not just something to celebrate, it's something to live. Remember the message. Go and tell them. It means that we can face tomorrow without fear. It means we can live boldly even in a broken world, and oh, believe me, it is. It means we can hold on to hope even when circumstances feel hopeless. It means the story ain't over. And so, friends, if you hear nothing else I've said today, if you can't make it to church and you don't get no other Easter message, I want you to hear this. Pay attention to this. You, you are known. You, I'm talking to you are called. And you, oh my friend, you are not forgotten in any way, shape or form by he who went to the cross and rose again for us. Just as he spoke to Mary in the garden, the risen Christ now speaks to you. He speaks into your life with the same power. He speaks into your life with the same tenderness and the same love. My friend, listen to me very carefully. He calls you by name. And that changes everything. Hallelujah. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Hallelujah.